Hello, everybody out. So, yeah, I'm back on stage again. Uh, my name still remains Murphy Ojo, and as we were talking last week, I think last week what we'll really discuss is nothing much. I think it's about uh, the duty of care that we all owe to one another. And those people who were not there last week, I just need to brief you about what this program is actually for. I created this particular content just to support everybody within social care, most especially those people within the domiciliary care, because I believe the bit of mistake here or there that we are making, or there are a few things that we thought, okay, we're doing right. Actually, we're not doing them right because a lot of things changes in this field. I focus solely on carer within domiciliary care because I believe if you are within the residential setup, a lot of must have been picked up by the manager or by people within the home, the nurses, anybody that are in position of trust, or maybe the supervisor, somebody must have picked it up. So that is why, but in domiciliary care, it's always take time. It's always take time to, let me stop this. It's always take time to, always take time to pick these things up because you don't follow them there. They go in there, they do whatever they want to do. Even when you call your client for a review, maybe almost every week, just to see what is going on, to see the way the care is going on. Sometimes they might not be able to pick it up until you get in there and then you realize that, wow, they've been doing something wrongly. Yeah, some of them, to them, they do like, when I mention something about the house is dirty and then you're supposed just to tidy it up, but because there is no cleaning in their care plan, they thought, okay, it's not a care plan, it's not my job. Yeah, probably it's not your job. But as I said last week, it's not about you doing it, it's about you reporting it. Because if you don't report it and somebody else pick it up, that might be a bit of an issue. It can lead to neglect, which I don't want anybody to get into problem. So that is why I created this content, in order to be giving us bits and pieces about where we're doing good and where we're doing the other one. Sometimes the bad side we're doing, to us, it might not be, no matter the training that you receive. As I said, this field is very, very dynamic. Things changes every day. So we just need to follow whatever they tell us from office. Sometimes our supervisors, our managers tell us something that we should even be doing. Some of them because of their business style. Because if somebody is trying to merge both the business interest and care interest together at a stage, there might be a sort of issue in there. There might not be a sort of conflict. But I believe it's a conflict that can be managed. But sometimes we look at the business interest over care interest, which is not right. So, as I said last week, I said there's a way to report all these things. That whatever you see, just pick up your phone. Don't test. Don't test first. I'm not saying you shouldn't test. And pick it up, pick your phone up and call your offices. You call your supervisor, you call your care coordinators, you call your manager, just to let them know. Okay. And I said this week we'll talk about that reporting side. Because that reporting side, there is a way to report things. I will be giving you a sample. Okay, it's one thing that you said, okay, you've called, you've reported, and nothing was done. If it goes beyond your office, you can end up in trouble. If you call, I said last week, I advised last week, when you call, just first speak to somebody, and immediately you finish speaking to that person, just take your phone. Just write the further to our telephone conversation. Meaning, you've already informed that person on the phone before you send that text. If there is anything that come out of it wrongly, people will not blame you. If they are even saying from the office that you didn't call them, you send text messages. Okay, you can tell them, forward to my telephone, forward to our telephone conversation. People that will be reading it will know that, okay, you've already informed somebody by telephone. And always make sure you know the person that you reported to, and sometimes the time that you report it. If you report something for the first time and nothing was done, you have the right. Let's say you report to your coordinator, nothing was done. About second day or third day, when you leave second day, you might be finding a way to resolve the problem. You call the coordinator back. This is what is going on. I've called you. This is not getting done. It's getting worse here. Something needs to be done. Then, if nothing was done, just pick the phone and call your register manager, please. Call your register manager, and then you do the same thing. After you call your register manager, just send the text again. Further to our telephone conversation, because this thing has caused a lot of problem. Lots of problem. That, okay, you don't call me, nobody called me, I didn't call you, just send a text message, all those everything. So, and that because that is what Kiara normally does. Okay, let me drift away a bit about Kiara just sending text messages. You'll see some Kiara, they will tell you, we do not have credits to call, which sounds so awful from my own point of view. I don't know. Because if you are working, there must be a tool that you're using to do your work. You don't just get, because of £5 credit you buy into your phone, and get yourself into bigger trouble. It shouldn't be. You should do the right thing. Always have something to call the office. Call somebody that's directly responsible to you. Call the person. Mainly, most of the time, it's always your coordinators. Call your coordinator, report to your coordinator. This is the problem, this is the problem. By the time you don't just test. Carers are fond of just testing, which is very, very wrong. Very, very wrong. And the worst thing, some of the phone that some of you are even testing are out of your hours phone, which only kick off between probably around 7 o'clock to the following, maybe by around 10:30 in the evening. So imagine you test somebody by 1 o'clock, or you test somebody by 12 o'clock. How do you expect them to, even if you call? So early in the morning, you make sure you call, and then you send the test. And if I were you, I will start it with further to our telephone conversation, meaning you've already had a telephone conversation, as earlier said. So let's now go back to reporting to the manager. And you tell your manager straight away, this is what is going on. Things needs to be done. I've reported to my coordinator and I've had nothing. So when immediately you dropped, whatever you said on that call, just put it further to our telephone conversation, please. Do this, do this, do this, do this. I've already reported this thing and nothing has been done. So meaning that whoever is reading that particular test, next time, they'll be able to pick it up like, okay, he or she have even tried. They've called your coordinators, they've called this, and they've now reported to the manager. So the manager should, in between that time, I expect somebody to pick it up. To be truthful, I expect somebody to pick it up. But on few occasions, there is always oversight when people just mix it, and they can still come back to you that even when you report to your manager, no, to your coordinator, to your manager, and nothing was done. So what do you do? Then that is why you have the right to report to social services and the police, please. Because when it turns to trouble, a problem, on an issue, it's not going to be a lie low. Though you will be out of that problem with all those steps you've taken. But sometimes, if care is not taken, you'll be roping. I'll give you an example. We had this client. Before we took it over, ambulance brought this client home, and the house was a mess. The ambulance returned the client back to the hospital saying that the house is not habitable. I can't drop somebody there. I believe maybe they need bed in the hospital. A day later, another ambulance took the woman home without doing anything to that place. And then they actually dropped the woman in that place. So we took it over after the woman had been discharged home, and we saw that thing, and we just took it. No. Woman being shouldn't be living in this house. And we started. And it was then within the social services and the hospital, they were just trying to say, okay, I don't think the house is a mess. The woman can still stay there while we clean up everything. So, but for almost a week, they didn't answer us. We're trying to send in an email, telephone call, all those stuff. And we are documenting all those names that we're talking to. At the end of the day, one day we just realized that they raised safeguarding. The same set of people we are reporting to, the same set of people who are raising a safeguarding against us for doing our job. It was just like a joke for me because I couldn't believe it. And then I called the people that you guys, you raised a safeguarding. And the guy was saying, just to report is not enough. What do you mean what just to report is not enough? In the first place, why do you have to bring the woman home with that living condition? They were telling me it has gone beyond that. What it is now, when you realize, what did you do? I sent an email to you. I called you. I spoke to you. I spoke to this person. It's not good enough to be sending an email to be. It's just as if they are too big to face an issue. You are under the agencies are the one that are going to face issue. So at the end of the whole day, we were ready for them. We will really collate our destiny. And it was then that when we did nothing, why didn't you go ahead as far as reporting to the police? So the services is saying this. So in the long run, they dropped the safeguarding issue that they raised, because by the time they realized that we have the documentation of everybody that we spoke to, every email that we wrote to them, they now realized that, come on, we might be shooting ourselves on the foot. But this is what they normally do. There is everybody that are in social work care, they know this. You have to cover your back. You just have to cover your back in this job. There are people that are ready to shift blame on you. Especially, I'm very sorry to be saying this, especially within the social services setup, because they find it so tough to prosecute themselves. They always shift blame back to the agency, and from the agency back to the carer. So they don't care. They have the legal department, they have everything, which your company might not even have. And when you are the one that has a problem, your company might not be there for you. Because most of the companies that you are working for are very, very small companies. They really don't have these resources to fight these gigantic cancers. So they have every means to fight you. They can, when they write, you just think that the end has already come. But when you know what you are doing, you have documentation of everything you are doing. You report what you need to report at the right time, and you take issue to them. I bet you they will not have any stand to stand on. There won't be any real point for them to stand on. They will be, once they know that you know what you're doing, you know your stuff, they'll be pushed back. But before it gets to that, it's always tough. You check you have to be able to make sure that, okay, you protect whatever you're doing around your job. Because they know they are at fault, but for them to admit that thing, they won't admit it. And imagine, because of how much you're being paid, they are being paid far, 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 far more than you, and you're going to have a sleepless night. Why they will go home and don't sleep nicely? They don't care. People in this country don't give a damn whether you are in problem or those things. No, nobody wants to be in problem, but they can't shift their own problem, their own trouble back to you. I'm not saying this just because I don't have anything against the service, but that is what they normally do. They never accept their blame. They never accept their fault. You are always at fault, because they have the machinery around them to fight for them, which you don't have. They can tell you, if it gets to court, there is what they call, I don't know. But by the time something gets to police, investigation, get to everything, you will be in mess. One's life will be in mess. You will have been losing money because all those times you won't be, your company needs to suspend you until the investigation actually finishes. So meaning that your company suspend you don't have jobs to run your life, and then there is a possibility of a case being on your head, and then you have a massive organization who actually causes the issue, who one of their employees actually causes the problem, protecting that employee, because once they open everything up, it falls back to them. Yeah, I've been involved in different kind of things. You'll just be laughing. You will see injustice straight in your face. People can say that in this country, a lot of injustice going on around this country. Because all these organizations, they are just so massive. But provided you've done your own job very well, I had another experience, whereby police actually raised safeguarding to social services twice, and they did nothing. And when the problem now arises, and the carer is in problem, it was then we realized that police have even raised this thing against safeguarding against social services on that particular issue, that this thing is going on. They should look into it. But nobody actually dealt with it. But when it became a bigger problem, it was the carer that was taken to court. So they said it was one of those cases that I looked. This Care Act actually protects carer the same way it protected the client. But on the normal practice, I don't know why that. I don't know, maybe just because it's still falling around that. The experience has been that carer have not been protected. It is always about the client. And even when it was the fault of even people in the position of authority, they only find a way to push it back to the agencies, to the care provider, because they are too small to fight this off. And then no care provider wanted to be out of market. Most of them will just quickly take a step back. I don't know, you carer, you're in problem. That is why you have to know your stuff. You have to know your stuff. You have to know what you are doing. When anything happens, when you see anything that is totally out of order wherever you're working, that was talk of last week when I said we all hold ourselves with duty of care. Immediately you get there, you just report. But it is now how to report it. Make sure, as I said earlier on, you tell your coordinator, maybe twice, maybe first day and the third day probably, and then you send that person a text. And even while you, as I said, you forward to our telephone conversation, boom. Immediately you write that, they will know that they've already had a telephone conversation with somebody. Then, if nothing was done because you don't know, the rate of things can move from first grade to another grade. Sometimes it doesn't take time. Sometimes it might take time. So you shouldn't wait for that time when it takes long period of time. By the fourth or fifth day, you call your manager. This is going on. This is getting tough. This is not right. And I've reported to my coordinator and nothing has been done. So immediately you report to your manager and send text to follow it up. But then if you realize that they are trying to neglect everything, nothing stops you from reporting to social services or police. Nothing will happen. That is where it leads us to whistleblowing. That will be topic of another day. So you can be protected against that one. So far it's not that you just raise false alarm. So far the alarm that you raised happens to be a genuine alarm. I don't want this thing to get out of hand. I've reported to my organization, but nothing has been done. But I bet you, by the time you reported to any one or two, either your coordinator or your manager, it will be picked up. Something must be done. Something must be done. People will not just sit back and be thinking that, okay, we don't care. Though there are some occasions that people don't care. Don't let me drift away from that. There are many occasions that people don't care. That is why there are some set of people in this country that don't feel social health care should be a profitable venture. they believe that it should be free, because in a situation whereby you're trying to maximize your profit, something must suffer for it. It's not necessarily something has to suffer for it, but few occasions something must suffer for it. Let's say you have, it's not a rocket science, you are producing something 10 pounds. It's either, and then you want to sell it, you'll be selling it 8 pounds. You're producing something 8 pounds, you'll be selling it 10 pounds, meaning that you're making 2 pounds. If you want to make extra money, it's either you source for a material lesser than that amount, and if it's not possible for you to source for material that is lesser than that, there's possibility one of the material that you're using to do that thing, you might lower the quantity, and then meaning that the quality of that product will not remain the same. So that is the way they relate it to social worker too. Everybody there, if you're trying to make business, you have to make profit within social worker. And gone are the days when the rate was so high and the wages were so low. But now, the rate is not catching up with the wages anymore. Wages is going up, skyrocketed. Why the rate is just coming down. So meaning the profit continues to be shrinking every time. So at the end of the day, and everybody wants to make their own profit. Meaning, if care is not taken, service will suffer at a stage. It's not necessary for service to suffer, because this job is more or less a straightforward thing. If you give your carer quality, underline that word, quality training, even when they are not delivering, you can ease them out with ease without any issue. Instead of them bringing trouble to you, just ease them out. That one will make your life much more easier than being in a situation whereby you continue to keep everybody, whether they're good or not, because it is about you attending to your client, not about this kind of services that are being delivered to that client. No. So that is why I created this. That's one of those reasons why I created this topic, this content, for us to know our left from our right. There are a lot of things, even to the provider and to you as a carer, you can say no. There are a lot of things you can say no to. Yeah, I know it's very tough, because everybody needs food on their table, and you need work to have your food on your table. But what I want you to know is that there's also humanity. Care job is not something you just go and just deliver anything. People does that. They go there and just do whatever they like. At the end of the whole day, some of them, they go away with those crap service, and few don't go away with it. Few even suffer more than what they should be suffering. I've gone out there, the quality of service that you see around, you just really, but still, because of the environment that we are in, people do whatever they want to do, most especially in domiciliary care setting. So when the carer got a very quality training, I mean, sometimes people do attend training. It's one thing you attend training and you allow training to go through training. You have to define the one that you want. Because some people are just there physically, but without any attention. Whatever you put across to them now, in the next few minutes or next few hours or next few days, they go back to whom they are. So that kind of carer should look for another job. That of a carer should look for another job. The first thing is to have the caring part of you, to be compassionate about what you're doing. To have that compassion that, okay, I'm going to this person. If you put yourself in their position, in their shoe, will I accept this kind of service if I'm their shoe? A lot of us will not accept that kind of service. So why are we dishing out the same service to others? It's just about what goes into our pocket, into our bank account. No, it shouldn't be. We should go out there and do the right thing. And if we do the right thing, the job is much more easier. The job is much more easier than what we think. There shouldn't be any, there are few troublesome family kind of a thing that, or social services, or I continue to mention social services. No, there are few tough ones, and no matter what you do, it's just as if no matter what you do, especially people with different cultural background. So I've seen a situation whereby a carer does everything, does her job very well, but the only problem is that she does not know how to serve what's the name, sandwich, the way she be served by English people. That was what causes problem. So, and instead of just to raise it, okay, this is the problem, this is what I want, it was raised at the highest level, and it got escalated. Well, at the end of the whole day, what really matters here is about the care part. So if I were able to defend that care, okay, this, that they too, they admitted to, that was it. So apart from few that there might be a very troublesome client, troublesome family, troublesome social service, this job is much more easier than the way we are finding ourselves, or than the way we're doing it now, or than the way some of us are doing it. Not everybody, because there are a lot of fantastic carers out there. There are a lot of 99, as I said last week, 99.9% carer. I always respect you guys, because it's not easy. People can say that, but it's a job, you are being paid to do it, all those stuff. But that you are being paid to do what we all know 99% of the population might not be able to even do. It's a kudos to you guys. But I won't give you kudos if you are not doing that job very well. It's one thing you leave your house to go to someone's house to go and work. It's another thing to do it very well. Just yesterday or yesterday, somebody was telling me how a care was delivered to her dad by another company in Liverpool area. And I was shocked. She even said she thought that was the right thing, but until her mom complained, and then she came to me to ask me all the stuff, and I know what your mom actually said was right. That is how it should be. I will still come to that, what they said, but that is not the talk of today. Is I want you to know the stages of reporting any issues that might not cause issue for you in future. If you notice anything within your workforce, within the client's house, client's family's attitude, anything around the care of your client, because the first point of contact for any caregiver in domiciliary care are the carer. They rely on you. We cannot do. People in the office can just do little. But you out there are the one that know what you have to do. You are the one that are the face of the organization. So you should know when to report and how to report. You don't just sweep things under the ground, under the carpet. If problem arises from that thing, you sweep under the carpet. It can not only stops you from earning, if care is not taken, it can end a lot about you, about your career. It's just like when you are bankrupt, you cannot work in financial setup. The same thing in care setup, and you don't know what you're gonna. From being a carer, you might have aspiration to become maybe a nurse or anything other stuff, and then you, because of how much, £10, £9, or how many pounds per hour kind of a job, to causes yourself massive problem. So what's worth doing at all is what's worth doing well. So far you leave your house to go out there to work, can they do you very well. And if you do not have enough training to do the job the way it should be done, just ask. People will put you through. It doesn't take anything. Please, we will report to your coordinator. From your coordinator, take it to your manager. From your manager, if it is not being done and you don't want people to because anybody can come in and can lead to neglect, go to social services, go to police, I'll report it. Okay, that is where we're gonna stop for today, and by next week we'll go into another topic, probably maybe about medication, because that is another thing that I know that always causes problem. So we might go to a sort of overview training on what you need to look for when you are administering or you are prompting medication. So all I will say, but probably is I want to talk about medication or dementia issue. Or if you want me to talk about anything, just let me know under the comment, put it there, and I will address it. Until next week, I still remain Murphy Ojo. Have a lovely evening. Bye.